Have you ever wished to live forever? Since ancient times, humans have feared the fading of youth and the inevitable end of their journey. We have sought ways to remain young and stay in this world for eternity. While the stories of emperors searching for elixirs of life are well known, there is a chilling legend hidden within Japan about a forbidden food that grants eternal youth to anyone who tastes it. That food is the flesh of a mermaid. But behind the sweet temptation of such a gift lies a loneliness beyond imagination, and a despair that only those who stray from the natural cycle of life can truly understand. Today, we will explore the depths of the mermaid, legends passed down across Japan, and follow the footsteps of those who were haunted by the curse known as immortality. When we think of a mermaid, many of us might imagine a beautiful woman with the tail of a fish, much like the characters in Western fairy tales. However, the mermaids described in ancient Japanese texts were far more unsettling. According to the Nihon Shoki, the oldest official history of Japan, a strange creature appeared in the rivers of the Setsu region during the reign of Empress Suiko. It was said to have a human-like face, but with a mouth like a monkey and rows of tiny, sharp teeth. Its body was covered in shiny scales. Its hands had long claws, and its cry sounded like a human infant screaming in the night. Why would people of the past seek out such a grotesque creature, let alone attempt to consume its flesh? To understand this, we must look at the most famous legend of all, the story of Yaobuni. This tale comes from the Wakasa region, in what is now Fukui Prefecture. Long ago, a wealthy man was invited to a feast at a mysterious underwater palace. While there, he happened to glimpse something being prepared in the kitchen. It was the meat of a fish with a human face. Terrified, the man hid the meat in his sleeve and pretended to eat. He brought it home, intending to discard it. But his young daughter found the hidden morsel and ate it out of curiosity. From that moment on, her life changed forever. She stopped aging entirely, remaining a beautiful girl in her teens for decades, then centuries. If you were to live for hundreds of years without ever growing old, while everyone you loved passed away before your eyes, could you accept that fate? This young woman married, had children, and built a life, only to watch her husbands and her own children grow old and eventually go to the other side. She saw generation after generation of friends leave this world, while she remained exactly the same. Imagine the weight of 800 years of goodbyes. Eventually, unable to bear the isolation, she became a nun and traveled across the country, teaching the value of life. It is said she finally ended her long journey by entering a state of eternal meditation in a quiet cave. From the perspective of ancient medicine, the flesh of a mermaid was treated with intense interest. During the Edo period, books on pharmacology often listed mermaid bones and meat as a miracle cure for all ailments. For powerful rulers suffering from incurable diseases, the mermaid was not just a monster, but an ultimate medical resource. There are records of obsessed individuals who spent fortunes trying to capture a mermaid to gain a few more years of life. To them, the natural order of life was something to be conquered, no matter the cost. However, not everyone who tasted the mermaid meat found eternal beauty. Some legends speak of individuals whose bodies could not handle the overwhelming life force of the creature. They transformed into hideous monsters or lost their minds, becoming shadows of their former selves. To stop the flow of time within one's own body is to defy the laws of nature, and such an act often demands a terrible price. The meat was either a blessing for the chosen few or a slow-acting poison for everyone else. Why is the theme of immortality so strongly tied to mermaids in Japan? Do you believe that living a long life is the ultimate happiness? Or is life precious precisely because it has an end? In Japanese folklore, mermaids were often omens of storms or great disasters. One creature known as the Jinjahime was said to predict outbreaks of disease, telling people that only those who looked upon her image would be spared. The mermaid stands at the intersection of human desire, the terror of nature, and the hope for salvation. In modern times, scientists suggest that these mermaids might have been sightings of dugongs, manatees, or rare deep-sea fish like the oarfish. From a distance, it is easy to see how a strange creature could be mistaken for something supernatural. Yet if we examine the mermaid mummies kept in certain Japanese temples, we find something even more deliberate. Many of these mummies are actually craft work, created by sewing the upper body of a monkey to the tail of a large fish. But we shouldn't dismiss these as mere fakes. Why did people go to such great lengths to create them? These objects were a physical manifestation of humanity's desperate longing for life. By praying to a mermaid mummy, people hoped to ward off illness and extend the time they had with their loved ones. These creations were mirrors reflecting both the hope and the fear within the human heart. One temple in Fujinomiya holds a mummy, said to be a mermaid who repented for its sins before Prince Shotoku. It was once a fisherman who took too many lives and was transformed into a monster as punishment. Even here, the mermaid serves as a stern reminder of the consequences of our actions. When we think of immortality, we often focus on the joy of never having to say goodbye to the world. But the path of Bikuni was not one of glory. She is said to have planted camellia trees in many of the places she visited. A camellia flower does not lose its petals one by one. It drops its entire head at once, as if it is finished with life in a single moment. Perhaps she watched those flowers and envied them. To her, being the only flower that never falls was not a gift. It was a life sentence in a world that was constantly moving on without her. If you were offered a piece of mermaid flesh today, would you truly be able to eat it? You would never fear sickness again. You could learn every language, witness every scientific breakthrough, and see how the world ends. But in exchange, you could never join your loved ones on their final journey. You would be left behind in a frozen moment of time forever, a stranger to the human experience of growing old. Is that salvation, or is it the most cruel punishment imaginable? Records show that Bikuni was not the only one. There are scattered tales of others who tasted the meat, but most of them eventually vanished into the mountains or threw themselves into the sea. Once a person steps outside of time, they no longer have a place in human society. The act of eating a mermaid is the ultimate act of taking life to sustain one's own. Perhaps that weight is simply too much for any human soul to carry. Today, we do not hunt for mermaids, but through technology, we are approaching a kind of immortality. We seek to extend our lives through medicine, and perhaps one day by uploading our minds to machines. These are our modern versions of mermaid flesh. But the legend of Bikuni teaches us that the value of life is not found in its length, but in its depth and the connections we make with others who share our limited time. Bikuni eventually disappeared, leaving behind only the trees she planted and the stories of her long walk through history. No one knows what she felt at the end of her 800 years. But her legend remains to remind us that life is beautiful because it is fleeting. If she could see us now, would she smile at our attempts to live longer? Or would she look at us with pity? The world is full of mysteries yet to be solved, and the mermaid is one of the most haunting. These legends show us the darkest corners of human desire. How do you choose to face your own life? Some may still dream of the mermaid's gift, but perhaps the greatest gift we have is the ability to grow old and pass our stories to the next generation. Thank you for exploring the dark history of the Japanese mermaid with me today. I hope this story has given you something to think about. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to continue searching for the truth behind the world's most mysterious legends. Until we meet again in the next tale, please cherish the time you have and the light within your own life.